Hello, welcome back to part two of this word. Um, so with that being said, as I was saying, you and your God ordained spouse are gonna have to have a lot of good communication. Now, next thing I noticed is that she um she was about midway her pregnancy, had to been about around about 5 months along, and she wanted his attention, right? So she ended up like trying to engage him in kissing and so on and so forth. Some of you, now this is up to you, your doctor, and if you get approved to do this, will still be able to be intimate during your pregnancy, depending on how many of children that you are carrying. I don't know when you get up to the higher ranges if you should be doing all that or not. But she was still interested in intimacy. There may be a point in time where you have to cut it off because you just become too big to do those things. And depending on what kind of risks y'all have, especially the more children that you're carrying, can you still do all of that? But that's the other thing that I noticed. So it's that balance. And this is the weirdest part about it. It's like, this is Megan Michelle did a video the other day where she was talking about your marriage is not something to play with, right? This marriage is not just for y'all. As beautiful as the idea is for you and this person to be together, and it's amazing, and y'all gonna get married and you're gonna live the lifestyle and all of this, depending on what kind of lifestyle the Lord's called you to do, that's all great, that's wonderful, that's beautiful, you're richly rewarded in that. But God didn't just put y'all together because he wanted to put y'all together. He put y'all together for a purpose. There is a reason that he desired to give y'all to each other and for this marriage, meaning it's something more to it than just y'all, okay? Which means, yeah, you may find the fact that, oh, you wanted to have a little bit more intimate time with your spouse, you're not going to get it because of the fact that you're going to get pregnant. And because you're pregnant, you're not going to be able to enjoy the intimate time that you thought you were going to be able to enjoy because of the fact that the pregnancy impedes on that. But you have to have loyalty, trust, and strength in that you'll be able to get back to your intimacy with one another, but it may still cause you to have more children. Because God said, be fruitful and multiply. I'm going to get a little further into that before we finish what I'm saying in relation to this film. So, you may not be able to have that much intimacy during your pregnancy. And then it may take time after the pregnancy to get back to being able to be intimate. And you may have to deal with that balance, okay? And finding a balance within that. All right? Next. What else happened? So she ran into her friend and they called her because her friend had gone into labor. And she said, I'm going to stop by. And she brings him with her. But the friend won't let her leave. And it's all the other women that were in this group, pregnancy group. And she's like, I don't really want to be here. And she's nervous because she didn't really want to see this woman give birth. Now, the woman had already given birth before. So the process of her birthing the child did not take long, but for them to witness her giving birth made everybody in the situation, meaning her and the guy that she was having the baby with, nervous. Okay. And in witnessing her go through the process, and the woman that was giving birth made her focal point, so she couldn't go nowhere while the woman was in labor. So she had to watch the entire process, and they did a home birth for this particular woman. So she watched the process of things that were happening in the body, with the water, with the woman, all of this. And by the time all was said and done, it was a situation of she was traumatized, and so was he. There are things that are going to happen in the process of you coming into the point of having kids that may bring up fears for you, fears for him, so on and so forth, in that process of what's going to happen upon the delivery of your children. There are certain stresses, there are certain fears, so on and so forth. I know certain family history, and it's that element. You're going to have to really sit and figure out, do I want to talk about these types of things? Is it a pro to talk about it, or is it something that will become a point of nervousness for your spouse? I remember yesterday I was looking at a video from one of the influencers I used to watch several years back, and she was talking about her first year of motherhood, and she was expressing certain things that she had plans to do, and because she was very gung-ho, very self-sufficient, very so on and so forth, she ended up making the decision at the last minute, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just buy this instead. Some things that you and your spouse are going to come into understanding of is you may not need to make things more stressful. Don't look at the negative. Gauge where your husband's mind is at. Because if they're more negative or more fearful or more overthinky than you, there may be certain things you may not want to bring up as a pinpoint that can turn into a set of overthought things that can bring about fear, doubt, sabotage, all of these kinds of things. But you got to gauge their mind first. So, and in that understanding, knowing that information. Next, as we know, in the next scene, they were walking down the street the next morning, and this is where she ends up finding out that he dropped out of school. Some people may come into your situation with the ideal of bringing about a level of confusion, but catch this. The person that's bringing the information may be innocent to what they're doing, possibly, okay? Meaning they're just expressing their emotions towards what they're seeing in front of them, but to you, it could actually be a pinpoint for sabotage, doubt, fear, and frustration all at one time. The enemy is busy. He will use people, that whichever ones he can use, to gain access to you in order to bring about confusion amongst a situation that needs to be dealt with between you and your spouse, meaning their mother, they siblings, a friend, uh, y'all have run in with somebody's ex in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Things that can bring up issue. Now, what ends up happening is she ends up running into his classmate. And the classmate he had been in relationship with before. But the classmate knew nothing about her pregnancy. But the classmate had, because he had been in relationship with her before, made the point of saying, hey, I thought you wasn't interested in having kids because I remember when I was in relationship with you, thinking about themselves. This is what the Jezebelic spirit and pride spirit does. This is like, when I was in a relationship with you, you didn't even want to have kids. Now, here comes the next issue, okay? She turns around and looks at him like, oh, really? And he's like, he trying to introduce her, the one that he is having a child with, and makes the point of saying, oh, this is my, and he makes the point, oh, the children aren't mine. Want to upset a pregnant woman real fast. Deny the children. She turns around and looks at him and says, excuse me? What in the world are you talking about? He said, you know I didn't mean that. You're going to have to be extremely careful because the spirit of Leviathan is running rampant, okay? This is a misconstruction of your words. Taking your words and twisting them to cause argument and confusion. Be aware of this. And then the fact that this woman was standing there operating in this Jezebelic pride. Was it Stephanie P did 2 videos where she talked about this, that Jezebel and Leviathan are pairing up together to cause confusion. Okay? And in this situation, that's exactly what you're seeing. Leviathan is twisting his words to upset the pregnant wife or woman. Then you have Jezebel, which is standing directly in front, speaking confusion from a victim, innocent, sabotage position, saying, oh, well, he said he didn't want kids, no way. So it's that element to plant seeds of doubt within you and to bring about a level of confusion between y'all. You have to be so careful about how much exposure you allow your relationship to have to other people. Because the second they get a foothold in, the enemy's going to use their mouth to cause confusion between y'all. If he hasn't been able to get in between y'all with nobody else up until any point, he's going to use the first opportunity he can. First, to bring about confusion, okay? To get in their ear, to cause confusion between you and them, so on and so forth. And you being pregnant is like your hormonal levels will be out of whack. And depending on how, I've always said that, you know how your mood swings are during your time of the month. You're going to be that on 180 pregnant. Okay? I already know how my tongue is. I already know how my mood gets. Me and Jesus going to have to pray because of the fact that I can get okay? It's going to be Jesus that's going to keep my frustration because I can tell I'm going to have boiling points. And it's only going to be Jesus that's going to keep my mouth shut. With that being said, they ended up in an argument And she ends up telling him, oh, you didn't have to be here for me and all this type of stuff. And some of y'all are so used to, and this is for us ladies, some of us are so used to, especially since we've been walking with God, especially since the way we grew up, depending on how we are, we have all had that element of, I can do this by myself because I've had to do this by myself up until this point. So you're going to have to deal with this by myself, self talk that you deal with, because you're not going to be by yourself no more. In a scene that happened about a week later or so, because her grandmother was getting married in a week. Her grandmother said, you got to deal with your overly self-sufficient element. A lot of us have been forced to be self-sufficient because we got to follow God. We can't sit up here and listen to everybody else's opinion on things because God has told us how we're supposed to operate, when we're supposed to operate, where we're supposed to operate. And because we've had such a solid relationship with God, when it comes to trusting people, we ain't got none. We love you. Stay away from us, pretty much. Because every time we let people in, we recognize the spirit and discern the spirit that's within or on that person. And it's like, I got to go apathy on y'all because I got to feel nothing when it relates to certain people. Because it's like, if I allow myself to feel something, then you're going to have the open door to hurt me. And what the grandmother was trying to tell her was, hey, you've been by yourself for so long, you haven't been able to let people in. In this relationship, you're going to have to deal with things, emotions, all of these types of things. So this season, while you're preparing to give birth to your kids, is going to be a time of healing of those things as well. Meaning the things that you were not dealing with because you didn't have to be around folks and so on and so forth. God is going to open you up to being able to have relationship with other people, but you can't reject folks or judge folks because of the fact that you're in, because some of us become extremely religious. We can't be in that religious mode. God's trying to send people that are going to bless you. I was listening to the minister the other day in prayer, and she was making the point of saying God is going to send you the strategic allies you need. Pray for that. Pray into that. These people are going to be sent to you, and you can't reject everybody because you don't trust people, because God let you be tested in a season by people that were viciously angry at your anointing. And you're like, I don't deal with people at all now because of the fact that those people that I did deal with nearly ate me alive emotionally because of the fact that XYZ. And some of your spouses have been through the exact same thing. So they're on guard too. They're going to guard with you. They're on guard with other people. And you're going to have to learn how to open yourself up. It doesn't mean that you're just all the way open. You are discerning, but you can't allow your religious spirit to become a, not a stopgap or what have you. I was listening to, what's her name? The Healing Prophecy 2.0. She did a word talking about maintaining your deliverance in forgiveness, which reminds me of something that the Lord's been sitting on me the past 2 days in dreams that I could not remember. Some of us have to come to a point of understanding that we cannot judge people for what they have had to go through and the process God put them through. Okay? and we can't determine what their judgment should be. You have to remain humble enough, or what's the word I'm looking for? I wrote it down earlier. You need to still have your humanity in dealing with folks, because some of us can get, it's not that we cold-hearted towards people, it's the fact that we've been hurt before and we trying to figure out, should I even throw myself out to you, because of the fact that we know how the enemy works. If that person got a hole in them, wherever that hole is, that's exactly what the enemy's going to use to hit you. We know this. And the fact of the matter is, we have this tendency that we become zipped up the second that, if it looks like it's even a sign, this is what we call red flags. If we see a red flag or a trigger point, we're like, oh, let me zip all my emotions up. I can't let you in. Not anymore. I thought I could. You trying to twist things. Sorry, can't deal with you. Bye. And God will be like, you're not going to be able to deal with people at all if you keep doing that. And this was this woman's problem. It's like, she didn't trust folks. She distanced herself from people. She didn't even want to be around her own friend group that was willing to be there and be supportive of her at the time. But she pushed them away because she thought that because they had vetoed something that she said, she was like, oh, I thought because remember, I told y'all that. When you're a loner, you tend to like to be alone, meaning leave me alone, meaning I don't want to be around nobody. I be all right without you. I'm good. Let me keep my peace. And if that means less people in my atmosphere, guess what? But let me tell you something about the enemy, okay? Enemy don't care. If your husband has a hole in him, guess what? He can't get nobody externally around you. He gonna use the closest person to you. Meaning, if it's your husband, oh well, it's gonna be your husband. For me, if it's my daddy, it's gonna be my daddy. Whoever the closest person is that he can use any of these assignments, he will go to the closest person to you. You can isolate yourself to the fact that you are darn near with nobody, meaning you are by yourself. And guess what's going to happen now? The enemy can't get to you through anybody else, so he's going to start messing with your thoughts. So it ain't going to work for you to be isolated, irregardless. So it's either you're going to deal with people or you're going to have to deal with yourself. But irregardless, you're going to still have to deal with them same spirits. Sorry, it still happens. So being I'm in control, I don't want nobody in my life, I don't trust nobody, forget it. So, what ended up happening? She had this pillow thing, and I see all of these pregnant women with these pillows. Oh my goodness. I ain't gonna lie, I was thinking about doing it when I got pregnant, because, man, I already know I have acid reflux. So because I have acid reflux, I'm going to need something to balance me out. And due to the fact that we gonna love our spouses, but our spouses carry body heat. And it's a known fact, at least for me, if I'm dealing with anything going on in my body, the last thing I want is to feel hot, because hot would make me more nauseated. So it may be a time frame that your spouse can't be all hugged up on top of you like he normally would be, or like you would like, which is another thing that make you look at God like, God, I thought we were supposed to be having our hugged up time. I thought we were supposed to be having I can't do all that. And you're going to have to deal with that. And in a way, that may be the way that the Lord's using the situation to get y'all to deal with y'all issues and not get distracted by the hugged up on each other element. Okay? Because we know how we are as human beings. When we all tight and physically close to one another, we stop dealing with our emotions. But due to the fact that you almost have a forcible barrier between the two of you, but the thing is, y'all still together, y'all will be able to work out certain things that you may not have dealt with because y'all was stuck in the lovey-dovey mode of intimacy and sex and all of this. You're going to have to be forced to talk to each other because of the fact that you're not going to be able to be having sex like that. You're going to have to deal with emotional things that you're both dealing with because of the fact that you're not going to be able to be distracted with sex like that. So there came a scene where he had thrown her whatchamacallit away, her big stuffed swan pillow, what have you, that makes it easier for her to sleep. He'd thrown it away like 4 months earlier. And she went back looking for it. Ugh. She dug in the garbage looking for that daggone thing. It's like, couldn't you just wait and buy another one the next day? Jesus, that was nasty. But that in itself speaks. Some of us will go through the trash to go back and get something because we think that it's going to help us. Because it's our comfort zone. Remember the statement of a dog will go back to its own vomit. There are things that we will go back to just to avoid dealing with situations, people, and scenarios just because we are dealing with the honoriness. And she made the point of saying, because she was discussing with a friend of hers while she was digging through the trash, she's like, I don't have nobody that's so on and so forth. And her friend ended up laying in bed with her that night. And it's funny, her friend was dressed in the same color arrangements as the pillow that she could not lay with. But that's the element. Some of us, we're really just seeking somebody that understands us. And Elisa Marie was making a point of saying this, that our God-ordained spouses are the same. They've been in environments where they did not have anyone that understood what they were going through, that they could be intimately connected to. And with that being said, you're going to have to learn to be a safe space for your God-ordained spouse, because just like you, they probably found it hard to trust other people. So anything that they reveal to you, you can't talk to nobody about. Okay? Which to me makes me look at God like, you got me on podcasts, you've got me on video, you got me writing. I talk all the time. Jesus. Because the way I am, I'm like, if you don't want me to tell nothing, you better just make me not talk on anything. Because it's one of those, eventually you become accustomed to talking, and non-intentionally, you'll say something. Why? Because over time, you may find yourself, I'm an exemplar. I'll give an example, and it may not be my example. It may be somebody else's. And it's that element of once you become accustomed to talking, you may not do it immediately. It may be 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the line. Something may become a point of contact where you're like, oh, this happened. And you're like, then your brain kicks in and says, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Or you're on a public platform and you say something. And it's not that you even intend, because you're not saying who you said it about. This is something that happened to me had to been about 15 years ago, literally. And it was me, the guy I was with, and my best friend. I told my best friend something that the guy I was with told me in confidence, right? And something made me say, we were sitting there together, oh, she know about that thing. He didn't trust me to tell me nothing else after that. Okay? So for me, that's a hot button. Okay? My concern is not becoming paranoid in my next relationship that I'm going to say something that was given to me in confidence. You know what I'm saying? Because I do know that I got to protect the relationship. This isn't a regular relationship. So because it's not a regular relationship, I have to be I have to treat it as such. And some people, especially if you're a talker, it may be best that you not talk to people outside if you talk like this. One, the enemy likes to use even your closest friends as monitoring spirits. So if he can get information out of you in relation to something through somebody else, he gonna use that person that you're willing to talk to pull that info. Two, some of y'all can't keep your mouth shut in relation to certain things that the Lord is giving you wisdom about. Would you publicly release that on a platform? Because it may be something that's bothering you that you may open up to somebody else about, even if you do it in a, what do you call it, roundabout way. But you need to ask yourself a question: why did I need to do that at all? You understand what I'm saying? So think about these things. Um, because you're going to have to keep certain things to yourself when you come into these relationships with your God ordained spouses. Okay? So I pretty much covered that. There's still another scene I got to go over, and we're almost to the end of this. So I'm going to come back for this last scene, and that's going to be the end of that.